Hello everyone, welcome to Trauma Behind the Glamour.
Step into the world behind the spotlight with Trauma Behind the Glamour, a powerful new podcast hosted by none other than Ra. Each week, Ra sits down with artists from all walks of life, models, fashion designers, actors, and musicians who share their unfiltered stories of struggle and resilience.
Wow, what an exciting episode again. We have been having some amazing individuals and souls coming on Trauma Behind the Glamour and sharing some of their light that happened in the darkness. Yes, behind the trauma, behind the glamour of all the glitzy facade that we always see. Today, I want to introduce a guest to all of you that you will be blown away by her. She was born in Mexico, raised here in New York City. Her name is none other than Martha Schreiner. And guess what? She has been around. Think about this. Beautiful young soul is about to tell you her journey of doing keynote talks at New York University. She is no stranger to the stage, as trust me, she brings humor and Spanglish and all these amazing spicy Latina energy to the stage. The glitzy facade you're about to hear about her, but you will also hear how she has overcome her own traumas to keep moving forward. As you all know, Ra tell you all the time, you can't let it keep you back. You can't let it hold you down. Because you remember that time? There once was a man who had the blues because he had no shoes. Down the street, he met a man who had no feet. So you gotta keep doing it for you. So, right about now, let me introduce to all of you, Martha Schreiner.
Hi everybody, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Martha Schreiner. I'm a spicy Latina MC, host, keynote comedian, but beyond that, I am a force of nature. I was born in Mexico and I grew up in a small town called Teteles, and people were expecting me to marry a super rich man who was gonna take care of me and have these beautiful kids. But I always felt that I wanted something else for myself. Since I was a little girl, I always loved to perform. I always loved being on stage. I always loved to sing and dance. So the first thing that I did is that I went to study something else because my parents didn't want me to study to become an actor. They were like, no, mijita, that's not gonna give you money. So then I went to school to study languages. I always been very curious about expressing myself in different languages. I studied English, I studied a little bit of French, and that in Puebla. But while I was doing that, I felt that I was feeling truly depressed because I was not doing the things that I love to do. So I started overeating, and I always felt truly insecure within my body. I don't know if you can see, but I'm a very tall and I have big hips, and I consider myself to be a big woman. And growing up in Mexico, people were always, shorter. So I felt that I was always discriminated. Not only because I have a very extroverted personality, but also because of my height and because I was big, and then men will not approach me because they will think that I was too much. So I received a lot of bully. People will call me, because of my last name, like the movie Terminator, they would say, oh, there's Schreiner. Or like from the movie Harry Potter, Hagrid, they would say, because I was so big and so tall, kids, I remember. Anyway, so all that to say that I have my own struggles and my own insecurities. However, I felt that I graduated from languages and I was sitting next to my dad, and I was, I feel like the weight that I carry within myself, it was a lot because I was not doing the things that I wanted to do in life, and I was doing something, like my family, what they expected me to do. And I graduated and I sat next to my dad and I was like, Daddy, I was crying. He's like, what's wrong? I was like, Daddy, I feel like I was born to do big things. I remember that we were sitting in front of the beach in Veracruz, and he was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, Daddy, I want to be an actor. And he's like, okay, there's one condition, of course, it's a Latina family, there gotta be always a condition. So he was like, if you get into the National Academy, that is the most important university of arts in Mexico City, I will help you, I will pay the career, I'm gonna support you only on that. So then I trained my ass. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I was allowed to say that. But I trained my body, I studied, and then I made it. And I was, I got to study art. I went to school to become, the most dramatic version of myself. But when I graduated, I felt like my options was to stay in Mexico and do telenovelas. So I took the, the limb jump. How do you call this? Just like I trusted my gut, and I decided to move to New York. My English was not as good as you can hear me right now. And then I chose for myself to start finding opportunities as an actor. And I feel the most important thing for me was to make friends and being able to express myself and, become better at speaking in English and connecting with people. And that led me to, push my insecurity of my body, because I'm in Mexico, I felt like I never fit in. But here in New York, I saw other women that were even bigger than me. So then I decided to audition for the New York Fashion Week. I was like, that I grew up watching with my mom in the runways. And then I was like, let me go to audition, to just go to the castings. And I was walking in the castings, and I was just giving, I felt like if I can give you any advice, is that you have to stay authentic and you have to show no fear of who you are. So then instead of expressing myself, I was just like walking, and my name is Magda from Mexico. This is how I slay, this is how I look. And I got booked to do my first runway for New York Fashion Week, and I was half naked. It was so big for me, because it was the first time that I was gonna do a runway. I was actually gonna walk on the New York Fashion Week with like something that I never thought I was gonna even push it through. So I was like crying. I was like, I don't know, I feel so insecure, because this was like a Brazilian bikini. Like literally my boobs were out. I had something to cover me. I'm actually gonna leave some material if you guys want to share it, so you can see how was my walk. I was half naked, my ass was out, and then I was thinking like, my abuela, everybody in the family are gonna be shocking. What is that girl getting naked in New York Fashion Week? But I was like, okay, listen, it's New York. It's like runway. It was the glamour. So I did the walks. And then I continued auditioning, because I felt like I owed that to myself, because for many years I never felt pretty, I never felt beautiful, I never felt that I had what it takes to be in those spaces. So as I continue doing the castings, I always felt like models, they don't have a lot of personality. They're like flat, and they go and they walk. So as the same way that I'm talking to you is the same way that I was approaching the casting directors. And then my casting director was like, hey, will you be curious, interested about just like covering the red carpet? And I was like, this is what I was born to do. Absolutely. And that journey itself, it took me to start being an MC in different runway shows, hosting red carpets, interviewing designers, models, because I love the glamour, of course. But I also learned a lot of things that like even the big models, or like the people that you might think look perfect, they also have their own insecurities. And I remember that I always dreamed to have my own show. I felt like being an actor was no longer something that resonated with me. Like if you ask me right now, will you do a media? I will be like, no, I don't know. I feel like my creative process is not in there, but it was more like using my own authenticity in my personality, what opened spaces for me. So I always wanted to have my own talk show. So it's New York City. I went and I studied what people were doing. So I went to the Kelly and Jack show, the Kelly Clarkson show, The View, and all these big talks, like big TV shows that happen here in New York, and then I went to see the Drew Barrymore show. And when I was there, I feel like I submitted, I went to the webpage, I did a casting. I want to participate in the Drew Barrymore show. The casting director, calls me and she's like, we love your personality. Will you interested about doing a fashion segment? And I was like, Drew Barrymore, oh my God. I don't think people in Mexico knew who she was because, she's more of an American personality. But the day that I had the chance to just be myself, I was just like, I walk in, I was like, hi. Yay, this is what I'm wearing and give me this look, yada yada, yes, Drew, oh my God, I love you. And I was so happy, and I think I was so grateful, and I just felt like it was a life-changing experience that they decided to call me again and have me another time on the show. And for me, everything that I experienced when I was crying in Mexico, when I felt lost, when I was overeating, when I was dealing with abusive relationships, it all came to the place of, just walking to the Drew Barrymore show, seeing my name on the dressing room that said Marta Schreiner, and then I just went inside. I met her, and then we have two segments. One, they did a makeover behind the glamour. Things that happen in that show is that the day before, my hair, they decided to change my hair, and it was orange. Also, you might not know, but in that show, they asked me a lot of questions. They wanted me to talk about my ex-boyfriend. It was kind of like, okay, let's dive deep into the things that happened to you. So I had to share a very painful breakup. And after that, it was just a dream because as you see me sitting right there, I was next to Drew Barrymore, the stylist, the dating expert. And I just felt like, wow, this was so big. It's so incredible. And I was so grateful. And after that, I finished doing this show. It's always good. I feel like if you're a performer or anybody in life, it's amazing that you go and then you have good energy and you talk to people and you give the best of yourself. And if you do that, people want to get together with you. They want to feel your energy. Next thing I know, I got a phone call I got invited to do a keynote, a keynote talk for the NYU. And it was another big dream because I saw my big name that said Marta Schreiner, and they wanted me to talk about being Latina. So I had this Mexican, very fashion and stylist outfit, and I walk in, and 2 days before my grandma had died. So I remember that I dedicated that speech to my grandma. I told them, my grandma Delia in that speech is also in my YouTube. She said sí se puede, no matter what you go through, you always can. And I feel like since that's how I navigate in this city. I think it's such a hard, difficult industry. People are they're gonna try to take advantage, or I feel like people will try to get pieces of me and not really care about me. So for me to stay grounded and always staying humble and always getting excited. I feel like there are some artists that achieve, things that may seem like bigger and they lose themselves. For me, it's just been trying to stay really humble. And to be fair, I think for me, that knowing that leaving my country, it's been the hardest thing that I ever done, but at the same time, just connecting with my inner girl and making her happy every day. And it could be the Drew Barrymore show, or it could be a dance class, or it could be hosting a fashion event, or it could be just, dressing up or talking to you here on the camera. For me, what has helped me is that God, I felt this connection with God, and just trusting that my angels are always around me and that people want to see me shine. And I hope this helps. That's a little bit of my story. I am so grateful to be here. And don't forget, people want to see you shine if you're shining for deep of your heart. I fulfilled my dream, my dream. I created my own show, the Marta Schreiner Show. It's like a talk, and then I have 4 different segments. The hot segment tea, because it was gossip, and then I have a little bit of fashion. People talking about fashion because, hey, it's New York. We all love fashion. We're so obsessed with fashion and dating life in this city. And then I have different performers from New York City, most of them Latinos, and it was a lot of it in Spanglish. So I did that. It was 7 episodes, and now I am working on a cabaret and doing other things. And just I feel I try to bring the comedy and the sassiness and just have that, just being so grateful of doing the things that I love to do. And it's been a journey, and it has not been hard. And that's why I'm here, because I feel like people don't want to talk about how hard it is to, I feel like people only see either on Instagram, or if you see me, you might think, oh, she's hosting, everything must be perfect. No, like I struggle. Sometimes I don't have money to pay rent because I chose to be an artist. Or sometimes I feel absolutely lost because it's like, what does, being successful, does it really mean? Or sometimes I overeat my feelings and I don't do anything, and I talk negative about, it's like, I'm not pretty enough, I'm bad, the trauma that I have from was a little girl. So I think it's really important for me to show that there is this side of me that it's not perfect, and I am very vulnerable, and that's why people relate more to my story. Now, so happy. I hope you guys are gonna stay here, because now we're gonna dive deep into the difficult questions, the fun questions, and all the gossip that you wanna hear right here. Mwah.
Oh wow, Martin. That was amazing. Beyond amazing. Like, we had so many people on Trauma Behind the Glamour, but oh my God, nobody speak about it like that, with so much excitement, so much pep, so much spice.
Yes.
I guess that's a Latina spice.
That's a Latina spice. That's what you want me to bring. I'm gonna give you the best.
Exactly. So guys, every one of you, all my rosters on Trauma Behind the Glamour, we'll be right back where she sits and answer some of those questions that she spoke about.
Oh yes. So you better stay here, because we're gonna do a lot of tea.
The legend Paul Anthony. It's very, very important that you come out to hang with me and a host of other really, really engaging people. June 11th, Times Square. You got to be there at the Palladium. It's all about mental health, and it's all about being resilient. That's why it's called resilience. I'm gonna say it again, resilience, June 11th, the Palladium, coming out, okay?
Welcome back to Trauma Behind the Glamour. And whoa, you just heard Marta, how she brought it down for you. And she brought her trauma in such an excited way. I was just so surprised. Like, this is the first time on Trauma Behind the Glamour someone was like so excited. Well, we normally host these mental health conferences. Like, we're having a mental health conference on June 11th.
Wow.
At the Palladium in Times Square.
Wow.
And one of the things is we have monthly conferences as well. And last month, I realized that I interviewed another health coach. She's a nutritionist, and she's been out there. She has 7 degrees, and she was telling her story of how and what happened to her. And I realized she also did acting, and she was laughing. And I thought, like, okay, wait, is it that she's still healing from her trauma? But no, sometimes it's so much that the way you brought it out really is beautiful. With that excitement that this thing happened, it's not gonna hold me back, which comes into all that you spoke about. Growing up, and it's a big thing, because there's one time, I don't know if you know this person called Amanda LeCount. She dances all over. I had the opportunity to interview her in 2019. And she has a hashtag that's huge out there called Breaking the Stereotype. And it's because her stereotype, even her dance instructor as a little girl told her, you're too fat, get out of here. You can't be doing this. And here you are, in a similar situation, you're telling your story. How is it that, people hear things, they know things. Some people are culprits of doing that, bullying others. And they have to sit back and listen to it. Now, in that point now, you become that little girl. You tell me how you felt going back there. When times you think about how you felt, how did you actually overcome this growing up as a teenager?
I don't think it happened on my teens, because I remember always being so insecure. People might not believe this because, you see me on stage. I hold my mic, I'm sassy, I talk to everybody. I always have that confidence in me. But I was really insecure. I remember that it always made me cry. I cried a lot. I always felt like people were not gonna like me. I never fit in. I always had that sensation that I never fit in. I was vomiting. I was just, like overeating. I had this dysphoria, like the relationship with my body was terrible. And I just felt like as years went by, now that I'm in my 30s, you might think that I'm in my 20s, but no. Now that I'm in my 30s, I just felt like I had to do the work. And I feel like everybody who's watching, the sooner you start doing the work, the better. Because nobody tells us how to love ourselves. So I feel like I started taking therapy, of course, choosing to do the things that I love and just staying brave. And drama school itself, it's a lot of, therapy. It's like you have to talk about you. You have to deal with all your issues, because how are you going to be able to let another character if you're still yourself and if you don't know yourself? So I feel like it was 5 years of just diving deep. Therapy has helped a lot. To this day, I still take therapy. And, it's just not me sitting and taking therapy with an expert. It's also being able to talk. It's also being able to do the things that I love. And I love what you said about, starting the conversation. I feel like for me, like the same way you describe this Vanessa, you said, what's her name? Or like the person that was going to do like the lectures and all about that, and she said it laughing. Yeah. I feel like sometimes we have this idea that in order to share something that was really difficult, it has to be with a lot of emotions, or it has to, like really take you there. But as you say at the beginning of, before we start shooting, the trauma is still lingers, it still stays there, and it's being able to embrace it and to love it. And I don't know if you agree with me with this, but I feel like when it comes to storytelling, and whenever you're sharing your story, you kind of also want to entertain a little bit. Because I don't know if it has been for you, but sometimes when I go and I hear, like these people, sometimes the message doesn't come true because, especially for me that I am, like a public, like I speak a lot. Sometimes the message doesn't come true if people are like really into like keeping their voices like this, or like they're crying. And sometimes they have this amazing story, but that's when it comes like you have to have also the training for you to share your story. I don't know if am I making sense?
You make 100% different type of sense in all different ways. And the person we're speaking about, and I would love to shout out, is Dr. Vined, because she has been through some struggles. Actually, in 2019, in 2020, I interviewed her. I went to Chicago and I interviewed her. When I interviewed her, she did this beautiful interview, and then she went down on the ground. And she was showing how she was in her own pity party when that voice woke her up to get out of it. And here, as we were on 4, 5, 6 years later, and she's telling the same story, but this time she's shaken up, and now here she has a PhD. She's a doctor, and she has changed even more. She never stopped. And this is the beautiful thing about you. You never stopped, even going in the corner, fighting with your body, puking. I used to work in the financial industry, and in New York Life, I remember we got really close to our colleagues. That's one thing, like your group of people, you get close to them, you're friends with them. And I remember some of the guys, we'll go shopping, and you're buying this suit for $400-500, and everyone comes to work on a Monday because it's meetings, and they're shining and have the same flippin' suit. But I can't, I don't know, why don't I look good? Because I didn't love myself enough. I did not even know this voice that I have, these things I do in front of the camera, was not me. And then I look at photos of these guys, and I would wonder, I would know why. Because they were slim, they were trim, they were in the suit, they fitted into the suit. Whereas I bought the suit to fit onto me, it's $500, but it doesn't go with me because I'm a big dude. You get what I'm saying? So I had not liked myself to understand what was going on with myself. Now I see the suit, and I know the suit, how me as an individual is going to fit into the suit. I see myself in the suit before I actually say, oh, it's $500 or $50 or whatever the suit may cost now. I make it shine on me because I am shining with it, because I love what I do. So I love that all that you brought in, some of the hiccups you spoke about on when you had your spotlight was when it is your parents told you, look, acting doesn't bring you no money. Being an artist doesn't bring you no money. Coming from an Indian background, and most of the times as you have to be like engineer, doctor, lawyer,
Yes,
something
yes. Oh,
big
yeah.
out there
Yeah.
to have this name going, and you can't say, okay, well, mom, I'm going to be a comedian. You'll get a doctor's degree
Yeah.
first, and then you can become what the hell you want. That's what they was.
Yeah.
So how did that affect you when you know, like, this is my focus. This is me. I want to do this. How did you feel when they said you can't do that?
Oh, I think that I've always been very stubborn,
Yeah.
you know, and I just felt like now that we're talking about trauma, and now that I feel more comfortable, I feel like the biggest thing for me is that I needed to share my experience with other Latina women and just making sure that my voice is gonna be able to. I'm not a therapist, and I remember that when I did the keynote speaker, I mentioned that I was 6 years old and I was abused, and then that itself, I just felt like dealing with that anger. I don't know. I mean, I feel like any woman who has been through sexual abuse, we cope with it in different ways. So for me, it was that I got really stubborn. You know, it's like I was dealing with the anger of why was I alone when I was a little girl? Why nobody was near me? Why did you get, guys, you know, it was like, what happened? And then I felt like, it's just like, it was what I was avoiding all my life, and that's why I was overeating, or I was not feeling pretty, or what I was struggling with having sexual relationship. I was even struggling with, you know, like being in real relationship because I had this hate toward that man that abused me. So I felt like there was a certain place where I sat down with my parents, and when I made it, you know, I decided like, hey, I need to be happy and I need to do this for myself. And then I remembered I was like, mommy and daddy, we need to talk. And I was 24 at that time, and then they had no idea. So I was just like, hey, listen, I want to know, like, I have questions. I want you to know what happened. And then it was really good. I felt like it was something really necessary for me, because I felt like after my parents hurt me and they were shocked, because of course they had no idea. It was my own trauma. There was a guy who was working in my grandma's house. My mom was working, my dad was working, he just touched me, you know, that's as far as I was 6 years old, so I was like, yeah. And then I felt like about the time when I had this conversation with my parents, I already had done the work for me to come and sit down, and they were like, okay. I just felt like my dad trusted me, or in a sense, like it's incredible with my daughter, and she's so amazing. And it was just, I guess, like, I'm not a parent, so I don't know how to, like, what do they must feel. But I remember my parents to just look at me and they said, like, she's strong enough.
Yeah.
If this is what she wants,
yeah.
Let's let her go. And I feel like up to this day, my mom, she's just like, where is she, you know? And then I feel like it doesn't make sense to them, but I feel like I wonder what they think, you know? It's like I live in a different country. Everything that I've been through, now I have a boyfriend, and now they're like, you have a boyfriend? Because, you know, it's like I felt like they knew that for many times I was just like, no, I don't want to be in relationships. Like, I don't trust men, and that. So responding to your question is being able to having the guts of deciding to create my own destiny.
I love that. And you know, I just want to, as you talk about this, I just want to shout out the Sherry Clark show we was on this week. I emailed her and asked her to be on it to talk about the upcoming conference on June 11th. And she put me down for May 26th, and I said, oh my God, that's just a couple of weeks of the conference. And bringing it forward is she put me on last week, and one of the questions she asked, she's like, Ra, what's one of the things that people really speak about that really hurts them till this day, even though they hurt? And I was like, abuse. Abuse, especially when it comes from family. But here you are, you swing that abuse and come now to tell your parents about it. I remember, like, my mom, she had this talk with me just recently. She's like, I only hear the things that you have been through because you speak about it on these shows. She's like, why didn't you tell me? But then again, I always hold it inside. Like one time, it was 2018 when I spoke to the therapist, and it's like, in my heart, I always figure out, who the hell do you blame? I can't blame myself. It's not your fault. I can't blame you. You're my mom, or I love you. You're the loved ones. Who would I blame? The person who did it? It's all meant to happen. In my way, it's all unfolded how it's supposed to happen.
Yes.
Abuse is horrible. People go through this. They're broken. Their minds are shattered. They never trust again. It's so many things happen just because of abuse. And people go through therapies for long. I have my book. I should have brought you a copy. Untold Stories, Hidden Truths. There's a story called Real Nightmares. The lady speaks over and over about her brother raping her. She used to dream it. She used to dream it. She had two daughters, and she used to go in the bathroom and she used to cry until she had to realize, self-realize, he's no longer there. It happened. It happened to me. You ask yourself why. What could have been done differently? But this destiny is written for us in a way that we cannot really, I don't know the right words at this time, but at the end of the day is we got to keep moving forward. And I love that you actually kind of have that conversation, sit with your parents, because most of the times, a lot of people view it's a shame even to speak to their parents. Like, I grew up in a way, when I came to America afterwards, I remember in New York City, I used to live with my aunt because my abusive stepfather ran me out of the house with a machete, and I started living with my grandparents, like my grandmother and my uncle, at the age of 14. And then my uncle died. My aunt's husband, they used to live next door. And he always tell her that I went to rent. That's why I had my rape incident with the guy as well. I was renting a room. I was working at a university, and my uncle, he had cancer, and he used to tell my aunt, he used to look through the window, they had this big window, he used to sit there, he used to tell her, we have a room here, why does he have to go pay for rent and whatever, you know? And she had asked me to come back home with her when he died. And I moved back there with her, and she had me like a little bit spoiled. I was always say, like, out of all my, you know, I was born poor, I was underprivileged, I went through so many things in my life, but living by her, I never felt, I mean to say, I had my cousin, he used to make little problems and whatever, but other than that, she never made me feel that I wasn't one of her children. And coming to America and living with my mom from 2000, there were so many changes. Like, first, we're in New York, you know, a fast pace. Here you are, I had everything done for me at home. That's what was happening with my aunt. I had everything done, and here I come, my mom would make me something that I don't like, that she doesn't know, because I didn't used to live with her. And I would be like all swollen up or mad about it. And then I had to understand that, hey, this is your mom, bro.
Yeah.
This is your mom you're treating like that.
Yeah.
And then I started like it was different. So the traumas, and I started opening up to her about certain things, and I started listening to her. I used to look at my mom cry because my brothers are in my country, and they're young. The one was, I think, like 12, 13, and the other one was like around like 18, right? And she used to just be crying. I didn't know, because you're not understanding another individual. So when you come to talk about trauma, and that's why I said I was very happy that Cherry gave me this opportunity to speak about the June 11th show, because abuse and trauma really hurts people. Even you emotionally abusing someone. If you do not self-realize that you did something wrong, then something is wrong with you. You need help on a beyond therapy, because then there's no help for you. So tell me a little bit about coming to New York. And this is one of the things. As we were talking about my mom, I became more open with her. I was able to, things I couldn't speak with my aunt, I was able to speak with my mom. So here you are in a two-piece, that you say, a Brazilian two-piece, on stage at New York Fashion Week. And here you are thinking about your umbrella. How did that all come together? From the minute you had to see what you were wearing to knowing that you did it?
I felt very, like I was trying to, maybe I should not post it on social media so nobody from my hometown are gonna look at me like that. And then sometimes I feel like I'm really open, and I think, you know, being from Mexico in such a small culture and like maybe a little bit close-minded, and then we live such a wild life here in New York. Like everything is accepted, you know, it's so inclusive, you know, people are fascinating and they can be whoever they want to be, and it's all well received. And however in Mexico, it did not happen. But I'm just like, I feel like I'm so blessed, you know, and I feel like in a sense, and I tell this to everybody who's watching this, like you gotta do whatever you want to do because nobody's gonna make you happy. And maybe I'm gonna quote RuPaul, but if you cannot love yourself, who's gonna love, you know, how can you love somebody else? And I think I am being very blessed because I agree there must be a lot of people who will want to do or have the opportunities that I have. And that's why I cherish them, and I'm really grateful. And every time that I have a mic on my hand, I'm like, baby, let's put on a show. I try to give my best, and I'm very grateful. And I try not to think about my parents anymore. Just like, because, you know, I wanted to do a cabaret show, and I had to talk about penises and like dicks and like, you know, and it's like, I was thinking, no, I cannot do that. Like the Martha Schreiner show had a segment about sex life, and then the audience will wanna, you know, they were like, what's the first time? And they were writing questions, or like people would raise their hands, and I was just like sharing. And people are so curious about sex. It is what it is, you're human, you know, sex life in New York. So I was like, oh my God, I remember my mom like, no, you're a professional, you have to. And I was like, I can't, because, you know, that's why people want to connect with me. That is why they want to see me. That's why they want to talk to me, because they know that I am real. So if I'm thinking about making my parents happy, forget it. Forget it. I wouldn't be sitting here right here.
I love that. I love that. You see, you got to do it for you. You got to make sure you go through it. Think about it. I mean, the emotions wreck you at that time because like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? This is the right thing? But at that moment, it's you again. You got to think about you. It's your shine. I love this little part that we have here. We can ask this question, you know, like when I started becoming in front of the camera in 2018, like I lived my life in New York City. Even my fellow, like even colleagues or friends from Trinidad, even family, like I would speak differently. Like, okay, I'm very open to different things, like religion and different things like that. Race, nothing like that bothers me because I live in New York City. So here we are now. I live in New York City. I worked in the financial industry. Now you work from New York Life all the way to Wall Street, all different things like that. I've met so many people who are millionaires, all different things. Money that plays a part in different. I hang out in clubs that some of us dream about being. Mm-hmm. And here you are now, back into a place where you're about to talk about trauma and mental health, but I'm worried about what people will think or how my country members will think. Why is it that we always fall back to think about what our cultures or tradition, even though we have outgrown it? And this is the thing about it. You know it, just like your trauma, you heal from it, but yet there's something could trigger you. Yet something can bring you back to that point, right? So why do we think about our country or what they expect from us?
Validation, you know, it's like we want to be validated. Yeah, it's like we want mommy call us like, I'm so proud of you, you're doing so great. I mean, up to this point, I'm like constantly looking for my mother's approval, you know, it's like, I just feel like it's validation. Like we just want our family to be proud of us, and like it was worth everything that you've been doing. And you know, I like relate with that. Like sometimes, like what you say, like you're in this club or you're meeting these amazing people, or family don't care. It's like
so sad.
It's like, okay, I'm sitting with Lady Gaga. Who is Lady Gaga? Or like, okay, yeah, or like you know, it's just like it's just validation, and just I feel like also making sure that we still belong to something, you know, in a sense that from our past.
Yes.
Because I feel like New York City is just like, I feel like relationships are truly superficial. You meet a lot of people, but who are there behind you in your corner? And I guess somehow in like Indian Mexican culture as well, I feel like they relate that family, it's family, and family sticks together. So I would say definitely validation, approval.
I love that. It's the approval behind it. So like, you have the Martha Schreiner show.
Yes.
Tell us about that and where people can find it and what caused you to actually bring this into to the light?
I was very crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. I felt like I needed to put all my talents in one place. I always wanted to have a talk show. I went and I did it. I recorded 7 episodes. I had live audience. It was like first it was, like the introduction, like a little telenovela scene. I will do a little bit of acting, like a stand-up and comedy. Then I will jump on a debate setting. I had different people, either couples or just maybe I'll bring you and talk about trauma and like how do we feel, and just like expressing but having live audience is just it's just like a different energy. And I'm sure if we had live audience, it will feel people will be laughing or we'll be feeding each other from there. Then it was like the hot segment that I would tell you, that it was like dating, sex, and at the end different performances from different Latino immigrants who are here chasing a dream. So that was amazing. Now I stopped doing that. It was a platform called Seam. Now I am feeling like I needed to stop that. And I was just like the creative moment. Let me put it again. As you met me, now I'm doing more MCs. Kind of like, okay, let me put out there doing the runway shows. Schreiner. I create a lot of content. You can find me on Instagram. I have a YouTube. I'm doing the segment. Like a different. With my partner now. His name is Daniel Chacon. He's from Colombia and he knows a lot of trauma. He lost a leg on an accident. And for me, it's just having those conversations of what it is dating in New York and being with a partner who, if you meet him, he is somebody who has overcome that trauma. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, I feel like I have a story to say, but it also having a partner who has gone through something that is bigger than me. It's not like I make myself, like I put myself down, like I've been through shit. But then when I see him and then he's so happy and then he walks on crutches and he runs and then he's missing a leg, then it's when I shut down my mouth and then I'm like, I'm grateful that I have my 2 legs and I should be so complicated because he has something that I have. It's very funny because, I don't know, I'm getting so sensitive.
This is good.
Talking about trauma, but he has, like for me, he's so resilient, it's like he's full of faith and he believes in God, and sometimes it's just like the trauma that is, like the views that I went through, and then I see him and it just moves me because he has done the deeper work. Like, it's like, how can I call myself that I'm fat or like being so negative? And then he's just somebody who's like has done the work and he's so happy, and then he connects me to God, and then I feel like I'm very grateful because I feel like I'm meeting a partner in a city. I always felt like I was never find a relationship in New York where I was gonna feel truly myself and I was gonna be so loved, and it's beautiful and it's great to be with him, but at the same time it's just a lot of understanding the pain. Like he doesn't tell me those things, but for me it's like what it is to date somebody who's missing a leg, and sometimes I worry a lot. It's like, is he comfortable? Like I see him climbing on the stairs, or and then I connected because now I wanted to create something for us together. So we're doing a podcast in Spanish where we talk about our relationship, and then maybe today is the time that we're gonna get more sensitive, because I feel like it's also like it's so great and it's so in love, but at the same time. And I feel like he does that a lot, that we're looking forward to connect with people that can talk about their trauma. I feel like New York is the sort of place where you have like your, like the ego, and it's like, I show you my face, or like, oh, this is my character, Martha Schreiner's fascinating. But then I feel like me and him are in this journey of trying to find other people that are willing to open their hearts and talk about their emotions and embracing their emotions. And I think that's why it's so amazing that you actually have a podcast where people are gonna talk about their trauma, because we all, it's like we're so full of fucking trauma, but
it's
like
so true.
you look like nothing has been going wrong. No, and it's like people don't have no idea. Nobody has it easy.
You spoke about that, and like hats off to you and Daniel, and like. And the thing about it is, like, I have learned over the years, especially when I was in the financial industry, You met so many different type of people, so many people with disabilities that you have to walk in there and you have to talk to them about their finances and different things like that. And you learn that, okay, I can't be the judge of this person because this person looks like they have their shit together better than me. And that is like what you just said there. They actually hold you together. Because what you just said there, I always talk to God about these things. Like, you give me these things, I'm on my own and I need it. You know what I mean? And you think about someone who's missing a limb, how they get through. And then to pull you back up is really amazing. So before we go like all into details, I want them to know where they can find you. But one of the things you spoke about at the beginning was the bills and the rent and the things that's happening right now with the economy and with the war.
I'm gonna cry more.
Like, how do you think, let's use it in general, not with yourself alone.
Yeah.
Because I know you come across different artists and friends that we just we went to the Grammys, Freddie and I.
Wow.
And the post-Grammy party, we met so many people. And when we heard a person watch us and say, just last year, I was homeless. I was living on the street. And we were like, oh, holy shit. This thing is big. It's real. So like, what advice? And like, not from your perspective alone, your friends who have been complaining about what's been going on, what advice and like to openly talk about it?
I mean, I don't think that I have the best relationship in the sense of saving. You know, I feel like if I can tell you something, sister, if you're an artist, it's gonna be hard. You are gonna be doing a lot of things that might not be related with the things that you love to do. So I feel like that's the most important thing. Economy right now, I try not to think about it, to be really honest, because I feel like I've been watching the news for the last 2 weeks and I am starting to feel really anxious and I was like really in a very negative state. So I felt like, okay, I quit for the last 3-4 years. And I think you said this before, it's meant to happen. Whatever is gonna happen, it's gonna happen. The same way I had to deal with my own shit, so did you, so everybody. We can't control it. And if whatever is gonna happen, it's gonna happen. I mean, all that to say is, I think nowadays it seems to me that we have to make sure that we're not spending more. You know, it's like, don't overspend. I feel like as an artist that we always have to give a look or, you know, invest on how we'll, you know, it's like, this is a portfolio. Like, what do you look? How do you introduce yourself? That is important, but I will say do not overspend. I've been getting more into people who want to talk about savings, being smart financially. I am the kind of girl who I don't worry too much because I feel like there is some times when I have nothing and then God sends me money, or like somebody calls me, he's like, hey, I want to pay you $5,000 to host an event, and then I feel like God never leaves me alone. But then I feel like, girl, you should be smarter. You know, like I should be saving more. I have no answers. I feel like nobody has answers nowadays. I feel like the economy is kind of shifting. We're going through recession. Things are getting more expensive. Stay happy, stay happy, stay happy. That's the best advice that I can say. Find joy, find free activities. Surround yourself with people who are gonna uplift you. Because if we start worrying and then money is not gonna come, and to me, money is the state of abundance. So I'm abundant, I receive, you know, I have my favorite mantras. I get paid to exist. I get paid to exist. Money comes, money is in love with me. My personality creates moments of abundance. So I know it might sound so hippie for a friend of mine who's a financial expert. She's like, Gary, you're Lulu. But I was like, I like being delusional.
I love that. I love that little advice to you all. And you know the thing about it, we're talking about you seeing it happening. I advise people, you watch the news, you stay up on it, it's fine, but you don't stick on it because that's when it's depressing. Remember, this happened to me in 2020 with the pandemic. I found myself on bed just looking at the YouTube of the lives being lost. So the same thing, people have been depressed throughout the pandemic. It goes off after post-pandemic. We are way past the pandemic. We're into this war now where the economy is gone, the gas prices, and when people don't understand what is really happening, the minute gas prices raises, every single thing raises. It's the form of transportation to bring you your food and every single thing that you need. So yes, it's a bit tough. So we got to figure out this and we got to keep going because it is happening. Don't feel down. Don't feel depressed.
Yes.
You're not in it alone. You are not alone. We are all going through it together. You know, and what I say, if it's not happening for you, don't let it hold you back, because what is meant for you shall never pass you by, and what passes you by was never meant for you.
I love that.
Right, Martha, I would love for you to tell them where they can find you.
They can find me on my Instagram, Martha Schreiner. Yeah.
You better spell that for them.
Yes, Schreiner. You can also find me on my YouTube. My Spanish podcast with my boyfriend has also subtitles. It's La Schreiner NYC. So it's LA. Then my last name is Schreiner NYC. And of course, I'm gonna share all the links. We're gonna be collaborating on Instagram. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. And I love what you say at the end. What's meant to happen is gonna happen. What's meant for you is always gonna find you.
What's meant for you shall never pass you by, and what passes you by was never meant for you. And it's the same with the destiny. It was written all around. Everyone, this is Ra, Mr. Trauma Talks, and the amazing Martha Schreiner. Look at her, follow her, check out her comic clubs, check out her show. And listen, we are here for you. The reason we do this is to let you know you are not alone. Don't forget, we have our June 11th conference coming up. It's big, it's all over. We have the amazing, we have Paul Anthony, Rob Schwartz, we have Jasmine Mickey, we have Song Therapy from Stage by the amazing Susie. We have a 5th president of a country, Trinidad and Tobago.
Wow.
Mr. Anthony Camona, he's coming. Paul Anthony, we have Jerry Wonder. He produced Shakira, Lady Gaga, all these amazing artists out there. And they're coming on stage, but they're not coming to perform. They're coming to tell you their traumas.
Oof.
On a stage, on Broadway,
Wow.
in Times Square, in person. Get your tickets now.
I gotta be there.